Good morning, McDowell. Today is September 11th, 2017. Welcome to Trojans Today. We have a big lineup featuring our most recent football game against rival Cathedral Prep, as well as other recent stories. Today is a very humble and solemn day as we remember one of the most horrific terrorist attacks 16 years ago. Sophia DePlacido is here with today's History Minute.
Today marks the 16th anniversary of the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. At 8:45 a.m., American Airlines Flight 767 crashed into the North Tower of New York City's World Trade Center. People originally thought this was a freak accident, but 18 minutes after the first plane hit, United Airlines Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower. Once Americans realized that their nation was under attack, the country became tense, waiting for more news. An hour after the first New York City attack, American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the west side of the Pentagon, and at 10:30, the Twin Towers collapsed. A fourth airplane, United Flight 11, was presumed to be heading towards our nation's capital when the passengers, who had heard about the other attacks, took control of the plane from the hijackers and forced it to crash in a field in Pennsylvania. 16 years later, one could say most of the United States has healed from the events that transpired on September 11th. In place of the chaos that occurred, monuments of peace now stand. In New York City, where the Twin Towers stood, there are fountains with the names of the victims carved onto the ledge. On each of the victims' birthdays, a rose is placed on their name. In the Pennsylvania field, another memorial stands commemorating the heroes who died in the crash. Among these citizens were people who took calls in their final moments.
The cockpit's not answering. Somebody's stabbed in business class. And I think there's mace that we can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
Just 5 minutes later, 8:24 a.m., 22 minutes before impact on the North Tower, the haunting voice of lead hijacker Mohammed Atta. Boston Air Traffic Control picks him up, talking to the passengers. Listen to Mohammed Atta.
Is that American 11 trying to call?
Buddy, we have some planes. Just stay quiet and you'll be okay. We're turning to the airport.
And who's trying to call me here? American 11, are you trying to call?
Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any move, you'll injure yourself and the airplane. Just stay quiet.
We even have a 9/11 memorial in Erie. Outside of the Blasco Library, there is a beam from one of the fallen towers and a memorial with information about the attack in New York. A memorial service has been held there every year since its opening. The sophomore class is the first group that will learn about 9/11 as an event that happened before they were born. If you wish to learn more about 9/11, talk to a relative, read memoirs of survivors or victims' families, and visit the memorials that commemorate September 11th, 2001.
Thank you, Sophia. Up next, we have Miss Patton live in the studio with Lizzie Gutmiller to talk about clubs and activities here at McDowell.
Good morning, McDowell. My name is Lizzie, and I'm here with Miss Patton, our 9th grade principal. She's here to talk about the clubs and activities that McDowell has to offer. So, Miss Patton, what in particular should the freshmen know about the McDowell clubs?
Well, freshmen and sophomores, should both know that we do not have a scheduled activity period anymore this year. Clubs can meet any activity, any tutorial period that they want to, and they can meet after school. So now you can technically belong to more than one club.
Okay, so when exactly is the deadline for joining a club then?
Well, this week we are having introductory meetings, so you do not need a pass to be able to go. And if you take a look in your tutorial, you should have listed the schedule of when the club introductory meetings are. And so you can go and attend and learn more information Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. For example, McDowell Media Club is meeting on Wednesday and Thursday after school this week. Tomorrow is Card Club, McDowell Wrestling Team, Academic Sports League, and the Green Team. And so once you go and you visit, then you can decide. You probably, I don't know, by the end of the week or next week.
Okay, so is there any special information you have about like certain clubs?
No, I think as you go and visit, you'll probably learn more information. Some are before school and tutorial, some are just after school, some just tutorial.
Okay, so what are the most popular clubs at McDowell, would you say?
Probably the largest clubs would be Key Club, Student Council, Lead and Seed, and Exposure.
Do all the clubs have the same application process?
Some actually do have an application process. Others, you just sign up and you're a member.
Okay, so I know that like football and stuff already has their team, so are there any other fall sports that you can still try out for?
Not that I'm aware of.
And do all of the clubs take place after school?
Nope. Some are just during the tutorial period. We have over 30 clubs available to 9th and 10th graders this year.
Okay, so the ones that do take place after school, what are the activity buses like?
Activity buses are only running on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 o'clock.
And do you have any advice for the new club joiners?
Yes, join a club. The only way to really become a part of your school and to feel as if you belong here is to belong to something. A club, activity, sport, community service, but absolutely take advantage of the introductory meetings this week.
Okay, thank you for joining us, Ms. Patton. Now back to Josh.
Thank you very much, Ms. Patton and Lizzie. Now on to our story of McDowell versus Prep game last Friday night, written by Sophia DePlacido. Excerpts from GoErie.com. The McDowell varsity football team played Cathedral Prep last Friday night. Prep led the entire game with a score of 49-7 at halftime. The second half of the game was almost as uneventful, with the exception of the bizarre events that followed Prep's first score of the third quarter. Anthony Lupo ran 32 yards for a touchdown, and fans ran from the stands and rushed towards the end zone towards Lupo. After a delay of several minutes, Prep was assessed 10 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, causing Lupo to kick off his inside 1 yard line. Prep coach Mike Mishler would not comment on any reason behind the celebration, saying, quote, "I will take care of it internally." Prep's Joe Mishler also declined to elaborate, but said, quote, "The coaching staff did not condone that at all, and I promise you it will be handled in the way it should. That's not what we are about, and we will apologize to McDowell. It will never happen again." The McDowell Trojans did lose that game, but overall, the Trojans are now 1-2 for the season. On Better McDowell sports news, from Go Erie, McDowell grad James Conner gets his first taste of the Browns-Steelers rivalry this past Sunday. Conner said after playing a handful of snaps in 21-18 Steelers victory at the First Energy Stadium. The rookie running back was also starred at McDowell and Pitt. He finished the day with 4 carries and 11 yards on a day when the Steelers' running game never got going. He said, quote, "It was fun. I love playing football, and I love the opportunity to get on the field." Conner also was wearing number 30, which he won on the McDowell's Gus Anderson Field. This is the second week of hurricane reporting, and we are only at the beginning of the hurricane season. Hurricane Irma is the current natural disaster as it continues to move through the Florida area. It started off as a Category 5 hurricane, but as it moves inland, it is currently losing force. So far, it's damaged parts of the coast, such as the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Florida Keys. As of last night, it has even damaged 2 high-rise cranes in the city of Miami. Irma is such a powerful storm, in some areas it has sucked the water away from Tampa Bay and into the Gulf of Mexico. Portions of the bay that were full Sunday morning were empty in the afternoon. It's an unusual phenomenon that is taking place along Florida's west coastline. Even Florida's power company said it will take weeks to completely restore power to all areas that were damaged. Like any other natural disaster, it won't be fixed overnight. So in the meantime, we'll keep the victims of Hurricane Irma and those who continue to rebuild from the Houston area in our thoughts. With that being said, we will see you back here next Friday during tutorial for another edition of Trojans Today. I'm Josh Robraw with the TNN News crew, broadcasting from the basement of MIHS. This is Trojan News Network.